Mohammed bin Salman spoke to Donald Trump more than half a dozen times and said that this is the right time to attack, otherwise the Iranian regime will become stronger and stronger. What is all this about, sir?
War has broken out, an attempt at regime change ultimately has led to the killing of the supreme leader. But obviously things which are panning out at the moment show that there seems to be a fair amount of support from Saudi Arabia for what has happened in the Middle East.
So why attack a place like Dubai, which has nothing to do with this war at all? So why attack Abu Dhabi?
Those kind of surgical strikes, I'm not sure how far capable is Iran in being able to do that. Hitting five-star hotels in Dubai and things of that nature obviously is not going to get any favorable eyeballs for Iran.
I spoke to them about this and they told me that Iran is not Venezuela, Iran is not Iraq, Iran is different. Who has been to Iran, they keep on saying Iran is different. It's not something like a Venezuela that you can simply chew and swallow. Iran is different. Why is Iran different, sir?
From the old times, when even with the advent of Islam which came in, the culture of this area did not change. The Persian culture continued to thrive. That just shows how strong is the civilizational pull as far as Iran is concerned. Iran will not just whittle under pressure. It may probably push back harder than what people think. Now, at this moment, it's very, very difficult for any one of us as analysts to ascertain what can Iran really do in terms of pushback.
The Middle East has been set on fire. And now there are these articles that say that maybe Saudi Arabia actually pushed and nudged Israel and the US to attack Iran. On the face of it, Saudi Arabia was on record saying that we will not allow you to use your military bases inside Saudi Arabia to attack Iran. We are not going to allow you to use our airspace. And then something totally different happens. To dissect all of this, we have Lieutenant General Syed Ata Hasnain in our studio, former GOC-15 Corps and someone who's been following the Middle East and reading about the Middle East for the longest possible time. Jai Hind, my name is Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching Open Collar. So Jai Hind, sir, and a very warm welcome, sir.
Jai Hind. Thank you very much. Our compliments to all our viewers.
Sir, on the face of it, sir, Saudi Arabia was saying it's a bad idea. We'll not allow you to use our land, our air to attack Iran. It'll destabilize the region and there is oil, there is energy, there are innocent people here, all of that. And suddenly media reports come that they've actually been talking. Mohammed bin Salman spoke to Donald Trump more than half a dozen times and said that this is the right time to attack, otherwise the Iranian regime will become stronger and stronger. What is all this about, sir?
Firstly, of course, the context we are talking about is what has happened in the Middle East, taken a lot of people by surprise. War has broken out, an attempt at regime change ultimately has led to the killing of the supreme leader in Iran. And then, as you are revealing now, suddenly we find this article coming out from Washington saying that Saudi Arabia was perhaps conniving in this whole effort. This is a subset of this whole crisis which is emerging, and it's a good point you started with it. Let me explain it this way. A couple of years ago, maybe about 3 years ago, China entered into this for the first time by brokering an accord between Iran and Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
And it led to the restoration of diplomatic relations which had broken off after the Aramco, if you remember the drone attack which had taken place, etc. And everyone was very happy. The Chinese were particularly in seventh heaven, announcing to the world that they had actually arrived in the Middle East with diplomacy as a big power. And you've seen that 4 years down, or 3 years down, what exactly has happened. At that time, I still remember assessing and saying that the Chinese were the last people who could understand the Middle Eastern conflict. And Middle Eastern conflict as related to the theological side, ideological side, or you may call it the sectarian side. The Shia-Sunni conflict, so to say. It has very deep roots, very historical roots, and it's not easy for people to understand this. And I think the Chinese were being very, very should I say, innocent about this whole issue by putting it out to this world that as if the centuries-old conflict had come to an end through the diplomatic efforts of the Chinese.
It's more than 1,000 years old, sir.
More than 1,000 years old. The Battle of Karbala goes back.
Yes, sir.
7th century AD.
Sir.
So, this is the context of it. I don't think people understand this. So, when everyone was saying that the Saudis are themselves very, very keen to ensure that their space is not used, their air bases are not used, etc., and they were looking for the future of Saudi-Iran relations, no one really understood or really understands the correct contextual issues of the ideological divide, the sectarian divide between the two nations. It will be premature on my part to even confirm or endorse what has been written in this particular article. But obviously things which are panning out at the moment show that there seems to be a fair amount of support from Saudi Arabia for what has happened in the Middle East. We have seen some visuals, recent visuals of Mr. Trump along with the Saudi hierarchy, etc. Nothing has come out of Iran yet. It's perhaps too early for statements to start coming out of Iran, perhaps. But as time goes by, we will start hearing more and more about this, and we will speak about it.
So, now Iran has been attacked, sir, and Iran is pretty much bombed the Middle East. Now, nobody can understand what did Dubai do, sir? And this is something that I've been bombarded with, and I don't know the answer. Unless you think of it in that factor that, you know, we are fighting an existential war with the rest of the world, or at least with America and Israel, and Saudi is conniving, etc. And we can stop the energy flow in its tracks, because the Strait of Hormuz is pretty much blocked right now, sir. And the Suez Canal, it has an emergency-like situation as we speak. So why attack a place like Dubai, which has nothing to do with this war at all? So why attack Abu Dhabi?
Good question. In fact, why attack any of the Gulf states, except for the fact that there are air bases and military resources existing which are related to the United States or maybe some other nations in those areas. Those kind of surgical strikes, I'm not sure how far capable is Iran in being able to do that, but to carry out kind of effect on other resources, hitting five-star hotels in Dubai and things of that nature, obviously is not going to get any favorable eyeballs for Iran, no favorable opinion in as far as they are concerned. So why have they done it? I strongly believe much of this response which is coming from there is coming from the IRGC, essentially. And not so much from the top hierarchy, which you are aware has been surgically removed right in the beginning.
Largely decimated.
Largely decimated. 40 top commanders and major political and ideological elements. So it's the IRGC which is doing it. Now the IRGC, if you go into the history of the last 6 years, ever since General Soleimani was killed, have had a series of strikes on them taking place from time to time, and large number of IRGC commanders have been killed. And they are bereft of a top leadership. I'm not sure whether people who are taking decisions in the IRGC at this time are even thinking through this. They're just thinking that there are these bases from where some attacks have taken place, and just target them and target the nations which are hosting these bases, without looking at the strategic impact, the implications of this entire thing, which are going to come back to Iran in a big way. That is my surmise broadly, which I'm thinking. Because as we go along, of course, there can be resistance in the streets, there can be resistance in the sky, there can be suicidal efforts. But ultimately, Iran has to find a method to it. You can't just fight back a superpower and a second power attached to it, which has got such huge resources, by simply trying some revolutionary means. You can't do that kind of a thing. You have to have a method in the madness. That's the unfortunate thing, that at this moment, the leadership in Iran has not got the capability to think strategically at all, except for making large statements, bombastic statements at the moment about what they can do. I don't think they are really capable of doing very much.
Donald Trump walks into Venezuela, he kidnaps Maduro, sir, or takes him away for a trial, saying that He smuggles drugs into the US. That's one thing, sir. He did Operation Midnight Hammer last year, sir. Now he's saying that he wants Greenland and also Cuba, sir. By the way, Cuba has joined that menu,
Yes.
which Trump wants. I spoke to a lot of people, and I spoke to them about this, and they told me that Iran is not Venezuela, Iran is not Iraq, Iran is different. I want to understand from you, why is Iran different? Why is everybody who has ever been to the Middle East, who has worked in the Middle East, who has been to Iran, they keep on saying Iran is different. It's not something like a Venezuela that you can simply chew and swallow. Iran is different. Why is Iran different, sir?
I've been to Iran, and I've been to Tehran. I've interacted with some think tanks there. I think the world of the capability of Iran, their civilizational background, the history of Iran, they have never left their culture. In fact, from the old times, when even with the advent of Islam, which came in, their culture of this area did not change. The Persian culture continued to thrive. That just shows how strong is the civilizational pull as far as Iran is concerned. But why is it different? I also felt that Iran is different. Very strong bonds between, well, I suppose nationhood anyway brings about those strong bonds. One of the things a lot of people talk about is that this is the core center of Shia Islam. And Shia Islam is all about sacrifice, self-sacrifice, the use of self-sacrifice as a weapon, as bringing people together, as an ideology together. Anyone who knows Shia Islam will understand this fairly well. And that's one of the prime contributors towards this perception about Iran being different, and that Iran will not just whittle under pressure. It may probably push back harder than what people think. Now, at this moment, it's very, very difficult for any one of us as analysts to ascertain what can Iran really do in terms of pushback. To my mind, as a strategic analyst, as a military thinker, a pushback from Iran militarily is actually a suicidal thing, virtually, because it does not have the means, the technological means that both the United States and Israel combined together have put across in this war. So it's a matter of time before militarily Iran is just subjugated. But then this whole thing can go into the streets. And, they are a very common saying these days, saying that from with air power alone, with the missile power and rocketry, you cannot just dominate Iran. You cannot just have a complete regime change. You need to put boots on ground. All this is, of course, in the realm of military capabilities and debate. This will have to be debated out. But to come back to your question about Iran being different, why a lot of people were saying this was Venezuela, the operation took place and overnight this thing happened. They could penetrate the security of the president there. They could bribe their way through, use great technologies. They've used technology and intelligence penetration here in Tehran to the last degree, to a great extent. And I think even Trump has announced it also, that we have been able to monitor the Ayatollah's movements over the last 8-9 months. Moment to moment tracking has been done. And so once you have that capability, and then you have got that human resource penetration inside to confirm things, and you also have the wherewithal and means to bring about a complete air superiority. I think this is a terminology now quite ancient. It's well beyond air superiority. No aircraft from Iran can perhaps even fly at this time. So once you have that capability and you don't have to fire your missiles of 200 kilometers away, you are actually flying right over the area where you're going to drop your bombs. That is complete subjugation, complete kind of dominance that you have achieved. So in the light of that, to compare nations and say, so-and-so is Venezuela and so-and-so is Iran and they have the capability or not, ultimately it depends also on a lot on your military capability. And Iran is emaciated as far as economics is concerned. We are aware of what the sanctions have done to them. They have got a lot of missilery from North Korea, from China, from Russia, and they've got their own internal capability. They have developed drone technology to a great extent and state-of-the-art drones. In fact, they are one of the first to start the whole practice of drones as a part of warfare.
Yes.
So all this capability is there, but in the face of such total asymmetry, military asymmetry of this kind, I don't think any nation can really stand up to it.
So you're saying the answer could lie, from an Iranian perspective, in asymmetry.
Asymmetry, complete technological military asymmetry.
So I'm going to ask you one more question, because it's very important in this entire geopolitical context, and then I'll move to weapons also. I have to ask you about those weapons. Saddam Hussein died. There was no public mourning as such. Gaddafi, he was killed. Why is the Ayatollah's death causing women and children to come on the road and grieve? I mean, people are storming the Karachi consulate, and that's something else. People will do that. That's okay, sir. But what about women and children? Is he also, because he's was a spiritual leader, and it's not just related to him being the head of state? Does it go beyond that, sir?
Yes, well beyond that. To compare Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi with Khamenei will be apples and oranges, absolutely. Both Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein, dictators to the hilt. Not to say that Khamenei was not dictatorial, but these two were absolutely dictatorial. They could not sort of hold their own ideologically in this kind of a setup. Saddam Hussein had caused great amount of atrocities on the Shia population in Iraq at that time. Gaddafi was known for his very, very maverick behavior. So there was nothing which attracted their personalities to the people as such. In the case of Khamenei, number one, as you very correctly said yourself, spiritual. The spiritual head of, virtually the spiritual head of Shia Islam. People from the Shia community around the world all look towards Iran. All learning, the center of learning is Qom in Iran, the major seminaries in Qom. That's from where the certification takes place of ideological learning of Shia Islam and things like that. When you have that kind of a connect, then obviously, in fact, I received a call from a number of people in India itself who are very deeply in mourning on the death of Ayatollah Khamenei. And that is the time I myself realized, my God, how deep this is, how deep ingrained is this fascination and affection and attraction for the spiritual head as such. Besides that, Iran has some kind of a different place in the entire Islamic theology. Its civilizational and very refined culture, Persian culture, somehow has a separate place overall in the Islamic setup. But most of all, is what we need to relate to is that the Shia minority within Islam takes its roots back to the Battle of Karbala, which happened in the 7th century, which is associated with fighting back against evil.
And unimaginable odds.
Absolutely, against unimaginable odds. Completely.
Yes, sir.
72 people against an army of camels, horses, warriors, and all kinds. 72 people without water in a camp. 72 people who are not all soldiers, with children and who were women, battling against the odds. This is a historical thing. And to draw an Indian context to it, there was an army of people which went from India to fight on behalf of Imam Hussein. They are called the Hussaini Brahmins, as you're aware in India.
Sure.
India had a very deep, fascination and attraction for Imam Hussein, the grandson of the Prophet. Now, this kind of a connect has never been lost sight of. And everyone knows that every year we have Muharram, which is the day of sacrifice, the day when Imam Hussein was sacrificed. And thereafter there's a 40-day mourning. And then there is mourning continues through the year. The Shia faith is involved with this very deeply. Mourning is a virtual obsession with the Shias. So they know sacrifice, they know how to fight back. And that is what one fears at the moment with what is happening in West Asia. That this whole philosophy of sacrifice and fight back may not allow Iran to wilt under this pressure. I may be wrong completely. This could happen. I was discussing this with someone. I said it could happen like what happened in Iraq, where Saddam Hussein claimed that this mother of all battles would take place with the Republican Guard against the US forces, etc. And on the second day, the whole thing was over. It could happen here, but going by historical context, Iran is a nation which will probably fight back. It'll be unfortunate because we will see tremendous loss of life and tremendous destruction, and with great amount of geopolitical effect on the region, and I dare say if this extends on the whole world.
Sure. Now, sir, I'd like to draw your attention to weapon systems, and there has been a lot of talk, sir, that they imported AD equipment, so the HQ-9 from China. And a lot of analysts are saying, sir, and like your views on this, a lot of analysts are saying that the same platform, it failed for Pakistan during Operation Sindoor. It failed for Venezuela. When the Americans had come, they had no idea. Maduro had no idea where the Americans were. And now it has not served Iran as well as it should have. What is this about this Chinese equipment that it's failing everywhere is what I wanted to ask you.
Well, the Chinese have been into this game for a fair amount of time, and their equipment has not sort of proven itself in most situations, as you have just quoted. But in this particular situation, I think every possible technology which the United States possesses was brought to the fore. And what my study tells me is the preeminent thing here was cyber. It's not a question of physically eliminating an AD system, an air defense system. If you have neutralized the complete software, if you've neutralized it through the cyber route, then obviously it's just a dud which is sitting there.
Piece of metal, sir.
Exactly. This is exactly what I think over a period of the last few years, the Israelis have studied, and they are past masters at this. They have studied it very deeply, and when the United States and Israel get together on a research of this nature, obviously they would have put their focus and their minds to it completely, and that is what has brought about. The missiles which are landing in some of the areas out here are penetrating the Iron Dome. They're also penetrating some of the other ballistic missile defenses in some of these bases, etc. Though that is an incidental thing. But the larger aspect of the cover, the air defense cover, which was supposed to be there with the Iranian forces, has just vanished completely. And the one reason for it, which I ascribe, is the cyber capability which has been established by the United States and Israel.
You're saying that the Israelis and the Americans can fly at will.
Absolutely.
There is nothing to track them and nothing to...
Since yesterday, midday, I think Israeli aircraft don't have to look at standoff distances. The term standoff is now no longer valid here. It's stand-in.
Stand-in.
It's
irrelevant, sir.
Yes, absolutely.
So my next question is, sir, a lot has been spoken about the Strait of Hormuz, sir. So the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, sir, IRGC, they have pretty much blocked the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the oil supply of the world goes from there. Also, the Houthis, sir, in Sana'a and those areas, they have blocked all passages coming from the Suez Canal. How is this going to impact India? Are we impacted? Because Iran is a neighbor, not a land neighbor, but it's a neighbor nonetheless.
In fact, even before touching upon India, I would say the one or two other countries which are going to be deeply affected are China and Japan, which are hugely dependent on this source of oil coming in through this particular region. And of course, 60% of our oil flows from the Gulf, Middle East, West Asian region. A little early to say this yet, because this is going to impact the whole world. The Americans couldn't be really bothered about it so much because they've got their oil with them, right? And Israel has the access from the Mediterranean, so oil can also flow in from that direction. So as far as the Americans are concerned, as far as the United States are concerned, this is of very little low priority to them, except for the fact that it's going to have an effect on the international economy. And to think that the American economy is detached from the overall economy would be a misnomer. it is very much a part of the international economic setup. So if we are into the third day of the war yet, I'm told the oil prices have still not sort of gone up to the levels that we were expecting. Perhaps there's a level of expectation that this is all going to come to an end soon. If that doesn't happen, you will find this tomorrow. Perhaps oil prices start moving up. Brent has already moved up. I know, I'm aware of it. I was reading about it today or yesterday. But you will find the effect taking place. We will be seriously affected by this. And I'm sure that the Cabinet Committee for Security, which met last night at 9:30, would have taken stock of this completely, because this is a major issue for India. Our whole intent of becoming a $5 trillion economy, $10 trillion economy, Viksit Bharat 2047, these are the kind of obstacles which will keep coming in the way and which we have to overcome. But at the moment, there are no clear-cut and no clean answers as to what is. Everything will depend on the state of the war and how it progresses, how it pans out in the next few days. If the Americans are really serious about it, they would be issuing a lot of warnings, making sure that the Straits of Hormuz are opened up. But then that is one hinge which the IRGC has got, and one weapon which it has got in its quiver, which it will probably retain, because this is the one way that it can show its importance, the Straits of Hormuz. As far as the Houthis are concerned here, yes, they have the capability to do a lot of, create a lot of problems. It's going to shoot up the prices of insurance. Definitely shipping and insurance is going to go up in a huge way, which automatically will have a cascading effect on the economies of the entire world. So this is an area where the Americans have been concentrating on not earlier against the Houthis. The Israelis may not be able to do it so much because their focus is entirely on the Persian Gulf at present. The Americans may possibly be looking at, and the carrier groups are around here. They've got 19 warships in this area. So I'm sure a part of the effort can always be diverted towards the Houthis. The only thing is that the moment you do that, and yesterday we've also heard, or rather this morning we've also heard the possibility of Israel targeting Lebanon, then it's Yemen, it's Lebanon, it's Iran, and the Gulf states themselves are being targeted. This region is going to go into a terrible turmoil.
So my last question to you is that, sir, let us assume that there is a regime change in Iran and they are successful. Nobody knows right now as we speak, so as we record this, nobody knows. Has the case for Reza Pahlavi been overstated, sir? Because this man has been out since 1979. He has not entered Iran. He's not in touch with he's in touch with expatriates who have come over. So, but he's never entered Iran. Is he more like this ceremonial figure who's being propped up, or do you think he can actually replace the Ayatollah Khamenei when he's no more Ayatollah Khamenei? And then people are talking about as if Reza Pahlavi is the final solution to all of Iran's problems, and suddenly Iran will become a secular democracy, it will become westernized, and everybody will start having a drink in the evening, and it will be all hunky-dory. That's not true, sir, is it?
Absolutely, that's not true. I mean, this is all a misnomer. These are narratives being put out. And the world of social media today, all this is being spoken about. These things are put out to people to make people believe this. Reza Pahlavi parachuted into Tehran to take over. I'm not even sure if most people in Tehran even know enough about him. Yes, this is the Iranian expatriate community which knows him well. There is an element in Tehran which will obviously be pitching for him because they have been in the streets earlier also protesting, etc. But the war, the casualty figures, the killing of Ali Khamenei has changed emotions and sentiments to a great extent, to my mind, my assessment. So it's not as if everyone is waiting for Reza Pahlavi to come in and take over the thing. It's not going to be that easy at all. In fact, the IRGC is still very much intact. The second rung leadership is intact. And what we are seeing is that all nominations, replacements, I think they seem to be having a system of replacements, because the moment a casualty takes place, they immediately announce who the next person is going to be, right? And that person also very proudly puts himself up and does not try to create a shield around him. So the whole philosophy of sacrifice, as you are aware,
Yes, sir. Yes,
is something which is almost right in the open, in the face. It is coming out. So with that kind of approach and attitude, I'm not sure that this situation is going to change around in that manner. Already we are seeing sentiments in the streets of Tehran where so many people have come out in support of the revolution. So I would say a lot.
I'm sorry, sir, when you say revolution, you mean
The revolution, I mean the old revolution.
old revolution,
The
sir.
old 1979
79 revolution,
in
sir.
favor of this revolution. The people in favor of the American and the Israeli actions seem to be in a greater minority at the moment. But as I said earlier, today is the third day. Very early for us to be able to predict and see which way this is going to pan out. But I do now seriously start. Till yesterday, I was not taking it so seriously. I thought this whole thing may come to an end very quickly. But now when we realize the sentiments arising in Iran, in the Shia world, in the Islamic world in general, obviously this is going to be a pushback.
There could be a cascading effect.
There could be a cascading effect. The one thing which Iran should not be doing, which they're doing, is the first question which you were, or the second question which you had asked. And that issue is that of targeting countries like the UAE, Bahrain, or Kuwait, and places like that. This, I still think, is a non-military mind which is looking at this and not realizing what the impact of these kind of actions can be. This is something as if just make a statement that we are still alive, we still got the military capability, and we can bomb you. Now, that kind of a thing doesn't get a strategic impact out of it.
It's not even a military objective,
It's
sir.
not
I
even
mean,
a military
a five-star hotel is not a military
Absolutely,
objective, sir.
absolutely.
It doesn't
It's
matter.
just to make a statement
Yes,
that I have the capability.
So, thank you very much for joining us, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, with Lieutenant General Syed Ata Hasnain, we discussed the entire gamut of events in the Middle East, what is happening with Israel and the US still bombing Iran and the other countries that have been attacked, and so much more. I'm sure you enjoyed this episode. I'm going to be back again with a very special guest. Till then, take care. Jai Hind.